Hello and welcome to another video. I recently applied to this art retreat program called Djerassi Art Program, I think is how you pronounce it, and thought it'd be interesting to go over my application. You can apply for many things, but I applied using my webcomic. I created a PDF going over my comic and the process of designing everyone, so I'll go through it all here. Just know that the application for 2026 already ended, so if you're interested about applying, you'll have to wait till next. For the introduction of my document, I first showed off the prophecy for my webcomic. It not only sets the vibe for the webcomic, but also on its own can already give you a sense of what this will be about, so I figured that it was a good starting point. After that, I added a small synopsis of information that I thought would be the most useful to know before getting started. I also teased the character designs here to help get an idea for kind of like the world's vibes and the characters that we will learn about later on in this document. After that, I showed off what I called the test page section. This was a single page and was just to show what the comic was like originally before I made a lot of my redesign changes. So I had 3 pages that they could read, giving a sneak into the comic and showing what the original design for the characters were like. After that, I showed off the world. In my webcomic, there are 2 worlds, Etandra, where all the humans are, and Meridia, where all the wizards are. Originally, I was going to have the 2 worlds be pretty obviously different, so I would have Etandra heavily influenced by Western European medieval style, basically the default fantasy setting you see a lot, and Meridia would be more East Asian influenced, more specifically kind of like an ancient China style. But after thinking about the story some more, I realized it made more sense to have the 2 worlds more connected than that, so I decided to mix East Asian and medieval European influence together in hopes that it would kind of create an interesting world. I did still have Etandra be a little bit more European, while Meridia leaned a little bit more, East Asian Chinese or whatever, but overall, I wanted them to be decently. I also applied this to the buildings, of course. So I've been making some basic 3D models to make drawing backgrounds quicker, and instead of creating separate models for the 2 worlds, they now use the same models with just some minor differences being made during the actual drawing phase. So for this section, I showed not only some maps of the 2 worlds, but also examples of the architecture for the world. Finally, it's time for my favorite part, and that's the characters. Of course, I had to start with Wisp, who's one of the 2 main characters, and from Meridia. He was the original character that started this whole webcomic, and thus has had a lot of redesign. Like, a lot. I didn't include all of them here just because it would be way too many, but just the most important ones. I included, of course, his original design, which he still looks surprisingly similar to, and his original design definitely just looked a lot more like pretty standard fantasy. Nothing really that complicated at all, and it wasn't a full body design, just a half body. After that, I showed off a design that leaned a little bit more modern. Part of the outfits kind of reminded me of Jurassic Park outfits, but of course, I felt like it kind of lost a lot of the fantasy feel from it, so I wasn't really like a huge fan. But after that, I lastly showed off what is now his final design that had a much bigger Hanfu influence, which is a traditional Chinese outfit. I think it fits him pretty well, works great, and still kind of balances the whole mixing medieval, Western European, whatever influence with kind of like traditional Chinese influence, while also trying to keep an overall fantasy theme going on. I think it accomplishes that goal. I won't go into great detail about his character here too much, since each character will have a dedicated video talking all about them, as well as like the world overall will also have its own dedicated video. So just know that any of the text that you see in these pages was just kind of descriptions I was giving about the character and how their outfit kind of matches their character personality, and a little bit about the story. After Wisp came Prince Evan, who's the second main character from Etandra. Honestly, his design came pretty fast. It didn't require that many reworks. He had his original outfit, which is just a standard European style prince outfit, and it came out pretty fast. Again, didn't really have that many redesigns. We kind of just like designed it once or twice, and we're like, yeah, looks good. For this design though, it definitely took a couple of tries. I was trying to mix the European influence and Hanfu influence more for him, and it took a while, but eventually I found a design that I think blends the 2 well. I'm not 100% sure if his color scheme is the final color scheme, but I don't think it's too bad, so I might just keep it the way it is. I'm not sure, honestly. I almost went with a different design that I still really like, but I feel like it doesn't blend the 2 inches well enough, so I don't know. It's definitely something I'm a bit on the fence about still, so maybe you guys can kind of let me know what you think between the 2 outfits, and let me know which one you prefer. Besides that, I adjusted his hair slightly, not that much, just a little bit. I did run a poll for people to kind of like choose on all the characters' hair designs, and on the poll, a different design actually won, but I will still use that design, just not at the beginning of the story, because there's, the story will take 5 volumes, so their designs will change a little bit as the story progresses with each volume or whatever. So I think that the hairstyle that you guys voted on is honestly also my favorite hairstyle. I don't think it works very well for his current phase of his life when the comic starts, so I think I'm gonna use that hairstyle later on when it fits the story more. I don't really want to say much of that because I feel like I would spoil things, obviously, but I'm gonna use that hairstyle just later on. So right now I needed a much more cleaner hairstyle. And anyways, besides besides that, I also included a final drawing, just like I did with Wisp at the very end. There was just a final drawing that showed off their outfit, as well as a little bit about their personality just from their pose. But anyways, lastly, it was time for Mentor, who's the primary side character. He acts as Wisp's father figure and, of course, mentor or tutor or whatever, and was one of the hardest characters to design. I still feel like his design isn't perfect, but it's not too bad, I guess. Like, it's probably the closest I've gotten. His original design kind of flip-flopped a lot from having a beard or not. He was definitely leaning towards a more stereotypical old wizard style, which is why we were trying to give him a beard. But gonna be honest, I did hate drawing the beard because I don't know how to draw beards, so it felt like it never looked quite right. That said, during another redesign after the world's design changed, I changed up basically everything about his outfit. His hair, his beard, and outfit, everything changed. I don't think his outfit here is that bad. Honestly, I felt like it was a bit flat. I don't think his first outfit that I went with was too bad. It just feels a bit flat for someone that's supposed to be kind of like a more heavy character in the story and not just a simple side character. I mean, he is a side character, but he's a more primary side character. You know, he's not like one of those side characters that appears for maybe just like a couple pages here and there or something that kind of acts more like a background character. So I still wanted his design to be a little bit fancier than just what it is now, or what it was here. But that being said, I did like the outfit, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to reuse that outfit for one of the default outfits I'll use for the background characters. So that's pretty nice. I do like his hair here, but in his final design, I did make his hair longer instead. I'm not sure which one I like more. They give different vibes, and I'm not sure which one goes with him more. He's supposed to be a bit eccentric, so I'm not sure which hair kind of gives that off more. And also wizardy, you know, I don't know, I feel like maybe he should have the longer hair since I'm trying to stick to that stereotypical old wizard style. But also I think the short hair with the beard suited him well, so I'm not really sure. I think if I did go with the short hair, I would keep the beard since I feel like they work really well together. I feel like if you get rid of one, it doesn't work as well. But I don't know, maybe you guys can also let me know what you prefer. If you think he looks better with the short hair or his longer hair. I feel like probably the longer hair, but I really don't know. During his final design, I tried to keep his outfit and everything very loose and simple, since again, he's supposed to be kind of more eccentric. We're going for very stereotypical kind of old wizard vibes. And since Wisp's design is already a bit more detailed, and Prince Evans is also a little bit detailed, not as detailed as Wisp, but it still has some details to it. So I kind of wanted to try to keep his design on the simpler end, so he's a little bit quicker to draw, even though Wisp is the one who's probably going to be drawn the most out of the entire webcomic. You know, I didn't want every character to have a really complicated design that took a hot minute to draw. So I wanted to keep his a little bit simple, and I think I did that. I think maybe I went a little bit too simple because I feel like I kind of wanted him to have a lot of layers, like really loose, flowy clothes with a lot of layers, but of course that takes more time to draw. And also every single time I did that, I felt like it never looked right. So I don't know, I might keep his design the way it is now. I might go back to the drawing board and see if I can kind of try to come up with a more layered outfit that makes sense and fits his character and isn't that hard to draw. But only time will tell. I still have a little bit before I'm actually going to be drawing the pages for the actual webcomic, so I still have a little bit of time to think about this. But yeah, so I think for now this is the design. Maybe I'll give him a different outfit, but this is kind of what I'm leaning towards for now. But anyways, that's it. He did also, of course, have a full drawing at the end, just like the other two. But anyways, that's it. I will be posting a few videos about the webcomic in more detail, so if this interested you about the webcomic or you're now interested, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss those videos, and make sure to give it a like if anything sounds interesting. Feel free to drop any questions you have about the webcomic below. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability, of course, avoiding spoilers. And if you have any recommendations for their character designs or whatever, let me know. I'll definitely be finalizing their character designs before the year's over. So if you got any suggestions, let me know. I might try to tweak them a little bit more before I do their final video where I talk about the character. And once I do like each character's own video where I talk about them in detail, then you'll know for a fact that those designs are like set in stone, because at that point I'm not changing them anymore. But until then, if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. And yeah, okay, I think that's it. Bye bye.